evidence is Dr. Heacock? What is different from what y'all using? I mean, is nobody on the same page? Is DNR not on the same page? Are they not getting y'all?
I won't speak for Gary Hickox, I won't speak for DNR, but I will say this. There has been a significant absence of our team of experts in a lot of the decision-making that's taken place in this process. We've expressed those concerns repeatedly. Okay? If we were working more closely together as a team, I think you would see more consistency in the message. But because we're the evil company from Texas, we don't get to have a seat at the table. Now that's just the cold, hard facts, folks.
Okay, let me respond to that. The governor appointed the Blue Ribbon Commission. The Blue Ribbon Commission, and this is today, so I hadn't even read it yet, has come up with their recommendation to the parish and to DNR as well as GOSEP of what is the expected outcome before the recommendation of lifting the mandatory evacuation. Everyone in here, the police jury meets every 2 weeks. We're meeting next week. I will once read it and kind of decipher it. I will report it to the police jury next week and invite y'all to come listen. I can't do it right now because it's 162 pages and I hadn't gotten through it yet. So the Blue Ribbon Commission has done that. So you encourage you to come next week and hear that.
Case in point, we knew nothing about what he just said.
Something
Case in
about
point.
that. Let me clarify something about that. As you know, I'm a member of the Blue Ribbon Committee. And there are two subgroups of the Blue Ribbon.
This is only one of the subgroups.
And this is only one of the two subgroups. Two subgroups are called the gas subgroup, and the other one is considered the stability subgroup, which is, they're talking about the stability of the sinkhole itself. And that second group on the stability subgroup has not written their paper on what their expectations are. The gas subgroup has. So let's clarify that.
And just so we're clear, and I don't want to sound like I'm up here slinging mud or being disgruntled, but the fact of the matter is, Texas Brine took enormous measures to get the best, most qualified people from around the world to work on this. They're still with us. Some of them are in the room. I mean, at least a dozen PhDs are on our staff right now working on this problem. And it's been frustrating as hell to be locked out of the process when we know that we have value to add. I can't explain why. Got it off my chest. Done. Now.
All right. I have a question about a specific ORW. And, you know, I've already announced to everybody that I'm a member of the Blue Ribbon Commission. I think you all know that already. Anything that I say here is my opinion. It's not the Blue Ribbon Commission. Okay. So my question has to do about ORW 38. Mark, you just recently made the comment that you think ORW 38 is done, by which I think you mean it's, you know, you've recovered what little gas you're going to be able to recover from that well. You implied that you were on a path to plug and abandon. So my question, if all that is correct, my question is really for DNR, who has some representatives here. And the question is, what is going to be the process when someone, presumably Texas Brine, comes forward and says they want to plug and abandon not a passive vent well, but an ORW? Because it looks like you may be on a path to one, based on what you said.
We've already plugged some. We plugged some that were on the west side of the sinkhole that we thought was possibly at risk.
Yeah, but this one, of course, is in a residential area, so presumably it's more sensitive. So my question for the DNR is, what is the process?
Process would be first for them to identify a well, like say if it's 38, to identify a well that they want to plug and abandon. And there's going to be the normal process for say a regular oil and gas well is you move to want to plug and abandon, you file a permit with, and a plan for how you're gonna do it with the Office of Conservation. So that would be the similar to ensure that it's done safely, but prior to that, in this case, would be making the case that that well has no future value in the response. And depending on what was used to make that case, that would make the determination of whether you go on through the process of plug and abandonment.
And it's the same process that we've been using all along. Texas Brine, we tell Texas Brine what we need. They propose a plan, and DNR and its consultants review it and approve it or deny it. And in the case of 38, I think we can all agree it didn't produce much gas, if any. I was there when the well was installed. I, was overseeing it. I oversaw BC2, so I know, there was gas on the property at one time. I saw it. The pressure was in BC2. But if Texas Brine proposes to abandon that well, we're going to evaluate years in the future if there's a potential use for it as just put a gauge on it. It's not hurting anything sitting there. If there's no gas in it, there's no danger from it. But we may want to just leave it there for a number of years to see if gas might potentially move there.
Would there be any kind of public involvement, to observe the transparency of this process?
The documents that they submit to DNR and the documents that go back approving or denying, and if they actually go and do some work, the report of the plug and abandonment, that's all public record.
Will there be a hearing?
There's not generally a hearing for a plug and abandonment, because where you have, especially with oil and gas wells, the hearing comes when you're getting ready to put one in, and once it's decided and permitted, then the assumption is someday it will be plugged and abandoned, so that's all considered part of the process of installing a well. Now then, recognize that we'll probably be getting the word out.
This, of course, is not quite a production well.
No, it's an environmental issue and it's a public safety issue. And we're going to err on the side of being very conservative. If there's a potential future use for that well, it's going to stay.
Bob, if I can,
So,
in early November, we submitted a plan called Phases and Criteria for MRA ORW operation. So basically, we'd take it from a well venting to dewatering to monitoring to doing repeat CPTs, and then long-term monitoring, and then eventually plugging and abandoning, so that we presented that. I think we've updated and resubmitted at least 2 other times since then. That would be our proposed plan, because we don't want to be too quick to go and plug and abandon a well, because there's things we just don't know, and we want to be able to monitor those wells that we spent this much effort to put in for a period of time to see if any gas shows up again. And if it does, then we return it to venting, or we see if it's ventable gas or if it's just a little bit of pressure. So that's been submitted. To date, we've had very limited or no comments back from DNR on that plan. But that's the process we're doing. So if you see things like moving to phase 3A, that's a process where we would look to move to a well to try a dewatering, which is what we're doing with these ORWs remote from the community, to do low flow dewatering to see if we can stimulate some more gas flow. So if you hear different phases of ORWs, that's what it's about. But that's the report that we've submitted, and that's what we're marching to until we hear something different.
it's basically our plan or our proposal for the life cycle of a well. And it's been submitted, and as Bruce said, we've not had comment back.
I just don't see how y'all doing all this, and nobody, the left hand don't know what the right hand's doing.
Well, I know it's a frustrating feeling. I lived in a one-street neighborhood that had 30 houses, that everybody was real close. And so I know a little bit about how y'all feel about living here and each other. So I don't know how you feel, but I can imagine. But there's a process that goes on, just like at any site that has this same working. You know, we tell the responsible party what needs to be done, they propose a plan on how to do it, and the regulatory agencies look at that plan, approve, modify, or deny.
So
And
y'all never like sit down at the table and say, what is this, explain it to us? Y'all never just,
explain to who?
to each other. He says he
Sure.
has a plan, you get the plan by email, and then you email him back, and
Now,
then
we
he
have a
emails you
formal
back,
meeting every
and
single day with John Boudreaux.
I
So
get
it's-
that,
It's
I know
responsible
that,
party, it's
but,
DNR, it's DEQ, it's CBNI, it's a formal meeting every day. It's what are we doing today? Here's the plan we're presenting. Travis is usually there. If he's not, he's on the conference call. So we know
It just
exactly what
seems-
everybody's doing
it just seems
every
like,
single day.
We know, there is a lot of communication, at different levels. Travis and I'm back in Baton Rouge reading everything. Travis is over here looking at everything. CB&I is our eyes and ears, and they're doing things in the field and back in the office and communicating. And you know, Mark, you know, we're it's just the nature of the process that we're not gonna agree on everything. And I don't think y'all are evil, but, you know, this just, you know, how cleanups happen. It takes longer than anybody would like, but progress is being made, and, you know, we're not just rubber stamping things. We're looking at everything on the way to where we need to be, and being, you know, we're you know, they have their experts, and there's a whole army on our side of experts, and, you know, we're gonna opt to listen to ours. They have no dog in the fight, except the Blue Ribbon Commission and the folks. We just wanna do what's best for you. And Texas Brine may wanna do what's best for you, but, you know, we can't accept that. You know, we're gonna do what we have to do, and if it coincides, it's fine.